Today, let's talk about chickens. Welcome to the 10 Acre Woods. We've had requests on people wanting more information on chickens, how to raise them, and how to take care of them. So I'm going to go over, or try to go over, cover all the bases on what people are looking for, and we'll start out with this here. So you can see, well, there's our big alpha rooster. It's an Australorp. And all the hens in here, well, of course there's a turkey hen too, they are digging in the dirt. What are they doing? Well, they are actually bathing. So they get into this dirt here and they'll dig into it and they'll move it around and they'll fluff it in between their wings to pull the dirt all up underneath their wings. That's usually where mites like to hide out. So in the warm spots. So they don't use water, they use dirt. In the wintertime, we use ashes from our fireplace. And we make sure that they're in the building because there is a couple feet of snow outside. Hey Drake, are you watching these girls? What are they doing, eh? And of course, our rooster. There's the other rooster over there. So this one is the beta rooster. He tries to take over the yard from this big boy here, but it doesn't quite work out. So this guy's just looking over his flock and just letting everybody know that he's the boss. Now that we're inside, we'll take you through the steps or the life of a chicken. So of course they will hatch out themselves or they will be incubated through the incubator. So this incubator is winding down for the season. We had it packed with a lot of different birds in the spring, but as we're in July now, we're focusing more on the more rarer birds, being turkeys, the peafowl, and guineas, which are popular. So guineas, you can see a little young ones over here. I think I showed them last video. So here are 3 guineas, and they are actually jumping out of this little area, so we'll have to find them another spot. You can see in the window, there is quite a bit of a mess. This area here is where we put them after they have hatched. So there are 2 of them. There's currently a couple rabbits here that came in. Oh, there's the other one up there. And so what happens here is they come out of the incubator. We let them stay in the incubator. You can keep them in there up to 24 hours. They don't need any food or anything. You want to make sure they're dry. And then the young ones will go into this area. Once they get a little bit older, we will then move them over into this area here. Now the reason for this is because when you have newborns and you have older juvenile chicks, what they'll do is they'll peck on each other. So you want to give the little ones a good chance. I don't know what he is doing, playing with and chewing. No, we're not going to chew on that, buddy. We'll just take that right out. You want to give them a fighting chance, or a chance anyway, without having to fight, so we separate them. And usually about a week old go into this area here, and then we put the older ones into this area. And of course heat lamps are always essential. You want to make sure when you're running a heat lamp that watch the chicks to see the height. So if you see them clumped in a section underneath the heat lamp, you know they're too cold and you need to lower this heat lamp slightly. If you see them scattered all around the outside and none in the middle, then of course you want to bring it down a little bit. Find that sweet spot and you'll see a scatter of chicks throughout underneath. They'll be running around and going here and there. That's your ideal height for your heat lamp. And then of course water and food. So what we do for food is we actually blend our own food. We used to use just a granular type of feed, and then this year we started getting oats and barley and corn, and we started to figure out what they need. So we did some lab results, and I've got a video that I'll post up in one of these two corners here on that and the results. So you can have a look at that and see what we feed and how we do it. And just a quick little thing here. This is just a setup of barley, wheat, oats, lentils, and canola. Now we add a few other things in and we ground them up so that the little chicks have something. Flaxseed back here, that's your omega-3 and omega-9s. There's just some raw corn just for looks. So then there is seaweed, or kelp, I guess it's known as. You can look at fish meal, and fish meal, all those are good sources of protein. Now, I had somebody contact me the other day on the channel, on the comments, stating that we just received a bunch of chickens and they're not laying. Is there anything you can help me out with? So I just gave him some information, and some of that was he just got the chicks in, I'm not sure, or chickens, I'm not sure if they're older or younger, how old they are. Chickens generally start laying anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks. Now, if you just got them in, they may be a little bit stressed, so you might have to wait a week or two to ensure that they're calmed down and they're into their new home. And now, another important thing is calcium. They need calcium to make eggshells. So if they don't have that calcium, you'll get. We used to get them early on when we were learning things. It's an egg that is just really mushy, and it's just sitting in there, and you go to grab it and it just falls apart, breaks. There's not enough calcium. So what we do is we all of the eggs that we crack, we put into another container, and then we microwave them for about a minute just to cook and kill any of that bacteria that's on there. We then crush them up, and we ask people from the public if anybody has eggshells, drop them off. And we give the eggshells free choice to the chickens, and they know what they need and how much they need. And you can also go with oyster shells. So having a container of oyster shells or egg shells or both, and then some kelp there, maybe some fish meal. Fish meal we generally add into the food to bump up that protein level. So that's pretty important that they have all the essential nutrients and vitamins that they need. Now, when we did that test with our grain, we actually sent it out to a lab and got some test results and found out that we were bang on everything with the exception of calcium. And our protein was decent, but it was a little weak. So we added a little bit more fish meal to it to bring it up to those. Now, we haven't had it tested since, but we were close enough and we're confident enough that it's been working. And it really has been working. We've seen no change other than better tasting eggs since we started a couple months ago. So I think it's been working, and our chicks are healthy. We haven't had any of them die to unknown reasons. We have had a crow come in and take out a bunch of the young ones. So, it's unfortunate. It does happen. Predators, we don't get many predators on the ground. We did have a fox a couple weeks ago. Got through the electric fence. In certain areas, we put down a 5th wire on the electric fence to turn it into a predatorial type of fencing, and seems to have worked. Now, we may have lost 2 guineas, we're not quite sure, but we'll find out. So let's head out to the barn and we'll go over the hutch area. Before we go inside, I just wanted to show you the original chicken coop that we built in around 2002, I guess it was. So this was it here, this is it. Of course, these are the 2 chicken coops the rabbit hutches we built first. And this is the old chicken coop. So we're planning on lifting that up and moving it back and kind of rebuilding it. It's seen better days. You can see how over the time goats have chewed away at the edge. And so we've wired, there used to be a window there. We just took this old door. That's why it's so small. It's kind of, we just built it up and straight across. You got to kind of duck underneath. The birds don't mind so much, but the humans, it's a little, you could bump your head. So these here are the original nesting boxes that we had. And then of course there's a door down here, and we used to have an opening out that way. And you can see a couple of our Muscovies. You can see an egg kind of poking out on the back there. They've been sitting on these eggs for a while. So hopefully we'll get something out of these girls. They've been missing for a while. And as you can see, we've had to rip up the flooring. Now, the reason why we did that is because it was a rodent, a woodchuck, that actually got in and underneath here. So we had ripped up the floor and covered it all in. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of digging and jacking up to get this out. But this is a simple hutch. Or sorry, this is a hutch. I'm getting all mixed up. This is a chicken coop. So the ventilation fan up here we've got plugged in to a, well, it's not plugged in now, but it's just a ventilation. And we have wiring in here, which actually I've disconnected. So we're getting ready for the move. And what it was doing was it was blowing out the extra heat in the summertime, just to keep it cool in here. And over here we have a thermostat that you just turn it to the right temperature you want. You'll have to calibrate these things because they only go down to like 5 degrees. There's a little screw inside here you can adjust, and we want it down to about 1 degree. And the reason why we want that is because the winters are so cold. Up here we have just a hook there was a heat lamp hanging down here. We have the water dish here. This is completely insulated, and of course there used to be windows here. And whenever the temperature of this room got below 1 degree, the temperature or the heat lamp would come on and warm up the temperature. So that's a handy little gauge, and we've used that on a few different occasions, and it works great. It gets down to can get down to minus 40 here in the winter time. So of course you need to make sure your birds are comfortable. They can withstand colder temperatures, minus 20, minus 30, as long as they have somewhere to go to get off of snow. A little bit of fighting going on there. And but the water, that's the issue. We want to make sure that water is in its liquid state so that they can drink it. We have at times when we've run into problems shoveled snow into buildings and they pecked away at it. It works fine. But essentially you want to have flowing water. All right, now let's go inside the new barn and we'll walk through that. Here we are inside the new barn. Now, for those of you who have not seen this, this is our current coop. And we have what looks like 2 hens trying to occupy one space. I don't know if there's any eggs in there or not. Yeah, it looks like there is one in there. That one might be broody, and this one's trying to lay an egg. Who knows? Okay, so the nesting box is here. So there's 3 nesting boxes here, and there is these cages that we threw in here, and they actually work very well for a nesting box. So you can see how it's all padded down in there. Well, what is wrong with you? Dimensions. Okay, so the dimensions of this here, roughly 14 inches wide, 12 inches deep, so you could go a square foot. Should work out fine. This little ledge here is about 4 inches, and then you've got about 18 inches of height. So the idea here is you don't want it too small so that they're not going to go in there, and you don't want it too large so that they're going to hang out. So you can see here this one jumped out because it was just a little too crowded in there, so I'm getting out. If you make it too big, they'll just stay in there and they'll go to the bathroom in there and just create a big mess. So you want to kind of stick to those sizes. If they are remaining in there for too long, you might want to see about closing it down a little bit more. But those are the dimensions, and these are somewhat those same dimensions, and they have worked well. So we've got quite a few nesting box areas. Now the area in here, this is an LED light, and it's wired up to just a timer right here, and it's set to come on and off to provide them enough sunlight or enough fake sunlight. So they need light to hatch. To lay eggs. So if they don't have enough light, they'll go into a molt. They'll be forced into a molt, and that's what happens in the wintertime. They'll molt down, stop laying eggs, put all their energy into the rebuilding of feathers. So we kind of trick them by thinking we're in a more southern climate. We don't get a lot of sunshine here in Manitoba during the winter months, so we subsidize that light with an LED light that I installed. That is, I believe it's 6500 color, so it's a daylight LED light, not the soft white. It's the daylight. So that's on a timer. Now looks like Ezzy's back to sit on her eggs. Actually, there's some chicken eggs in there. Looks like there's a couple turkey eggs as well. Okay, so the sizing area here. So what you want is, for inside, you want about 2 to 3 square feet per bird. And for an outside run, you want about 8 to 10 square feet per bird. So we have that outside run, but they are open to the outside area in the front. So they have essentially 10 acres to wander. So they've got lots outside. Now, what happens if you don't have enough space in there, they can start pecking at each other. And, you know, if you got too many people living in one house, you know, they're going to start to argue. So giving them the correct amount of space is essential for creating a nice, comfortable environment so they're not stressed. They'll continue to lay eggs and they're happy. So of course in the wintertime, we've got that closed off and they are inside here for the entire winter. Now, proper ventilation is also essential. So we have over here, we have our ventilation fan. And it is hooked up to a two-way switch here for high and low, just the type of fan that I bought. And over here, again, kind of like outside, it is it's a thermostat, and it's a mercury switch thermostat. So you can see how crooked it is, and that's my way of calibrating it to the lower temperature. So again, in here, we actually don't heat this barn. Wintertime, we're trying to get heat out of it. But essentially what we're doing, not necessarily getting heat out, we're getting the humidity out. So whatever they drink, whatever water we put in the watering containers is going to get into the air. And we want to expel that. So we try to keep the temperature in around 1 degree, just so the waters don't freeze. So what happens is that fan is actually set to come on when it gets above 1 or 2 degrees Celsius and start to expel that warm, moist air from inside the building. Now, on the other end of the building down here, we have a ventilation pipe. So it's in the opposite corner. And I put an elbow on here because our water system is actually here. And during the winter, the cold air had actually come down and settled and froze the pipe. Now we do have a heated line that's plugged into here. It's not on right now, of course. And there's a timer here that it comes on and off. I think it's on for 15 minutes, off for half an hour, on for 15, off for half an hour. And it's just enough to keep the line thawed out. So this actually goes inside the pipe. Now it was this section here that froze. So of course there's no heating wire going in through the valve. So that's why we had to pay attention to that. Tara's built this cute little shelf she's working on, obviously. Here we go, eggshells. So these are all just crushed up eggshells. This is oyster shells. So that's a good source of calcium as well. Some pig pellets, 60-30-10, which is what we used to buy, but now we blend our own. So this was kind of a base as to our lab results. This here is kelp or seaweed, so good source of protein there, just free choice. Mainly in the wintertime, outside they're getting bugs and they're eating, so that is fine. Ashes here again for the wintertime, so this is their ash bath that they have. This is just a blend that we had put together. Baking soda, it's good to have around for goats because they can eat a little bit too much, and they may be slow and may actually have gas. Diatomaceous earth is something else we did use, but now we're moving towards the ashes. It's more natural. Well, so is diatomaceous, but there are some concerns with that, breathing in the particulate. There are some safety concerns with that, and of course there's our oyster shells. So I'm looking here, and Velvet has been trying to get into. Well, not trying. But we learn here, don't we, Velvet? No, you're not taking that. Let's take this completely out, shall we? All right, we'll just put that in here until... So this is the third time. I've had to stop filming a couple times, but she's getting in this door here. So again, another learning curve in trying to keep goats away from chicken food. It's been an ongoing battle for years. We've done many things. So here, she can actually get through. She can actually get through that, and so can a few other goats. And Velvet is very persistent. So what we're going to do is we're going to build out a section so it's like an L, so that the chicken has to actually come over and in. So it'll work good as a rain barrier or a wind barrier as well. So that's the next step. So we'll get to that this afternoon. Should be a fairly easy build. Okay, so here is egg shells here and oyster shells here. So free choice, they know when they need it, and we have it available for them. So next thing is getting Velvet out of here. Oh, always an adventure at the 10 Acre Woods. We're going to talk about clipping wings. So that's something that if you're starting out, you have a smaller chicken coop, you have a fenced-in area. Maybe you're using what we used when we started, which was chain link fencing. And of course, birds can jump up and get out. And if you don't have the rest of your yard set up for them, or if you have predators in the area, then of course you're going to run into problems. So we clip the wings or clip the flight feathers, and that just stops them from getting that lift to take off. So we'll head outside, we will pick up, we'll find some bird. They don't actually need their flight feathers because they can walk pretty much anywhere they need to go. So it won't affect them at all in their daily routine, but to show you, we'll go find a bird and show you how it works. Let's go. Okay, I have my chicken. Actually, it's a rooster, and this is a nice, calm way to carry them, completely at ease and at rest. So this one here is actually a young rooster. You can tell because of the nice feathers that this black Australorp is growing out, and you can tell by the way they behave. So we will start off by, you want a nice pair of scissors. These are actually like kitchen cutting ones for cutting bones. So these are a nice, good quality. You don't want to cheap out on them. So I will just get up here a little closer, and we'll show you when you fan out the feather, so you can hold them to your chest and fan out the feather. Now these ones down here that are protruding out, those are the flight feathers. So what we want to do is we want to cut right across there. So we'll start off by, now you may need two people to do this, just depending on how you are with, and you just fan them out like that. Oh, I might need two people. There we go. Okay. So a nice clear cut there, and you can see right here, so these are secondary feathers up here, these are the primary flight feathers, and you can simply cut right across there. And that's perfectly fine. The wing actually is up here. So the end of the wing is right up in this area here. So we're far enough away. So when again, the same thing, over on this side. Oh, you don't like that, do you? So fan out the wing, and again, right across, and snip those. And there we go. Now the flight feathers are off. Now he doesn't need to go anywhere in flight, but if he had to, then he wouldn't be able to gain that lift off of the ground. Now these feathers will grow back, so during the molt, so you'll need to do this every year, depending on your circumstances. But he's fine now. he's just going to go run off and play. And that's how you clip wings. Okay, we're back inside. And I just wanted to show you a couple other things before we left. This is a nice little display here that teared it up. So you can see the different type of colors. So these are the Americanas, and these back here are the Australorp, which was the black one that I had. Black Copper Morand is in here, which is kind of the coppery type color. Now the Gold Lace Polish gives off the nice white one. I'm not sure if you saw that in this video. It's the one with the fuzzy head, the feathers that go up all on the top. This is a Colombian Rock here, which are the white and black ones. I think you saw some of those there out there. And then this one is the Rhode Island. And then these here are different combinations of the different breeds that we mix them in. Because they're all together, you'll get spin-offs of all these. So you've got the blues and the greens, the browns, and all the different shades of browns, and of course the whites. So we call them a barnyard mix, or you can call them Easter eggers. But it gives a nice colorful. It's wonderful to open up that egg carton and go, oh, look at that, it's so pretty. Something you don't get in the stores. So that, and then while I'm at it, I guess I might as well show you what a goose egg looks like here. This is the pekin, so the white duck, and this is the cayuga duck, which is the black duck. And these eggs are actually black. I don't know if you can see. I think you can see a little bit. You can see some discoloration on there. Well, what it was this egg is completely black. And Tara went and washed it off to blow it out, and washed off that black coating, which is an excellent way to show what type of coating there is on chicken eggs. So you can take these chicken eggs, and if you don't wash them, there is that membrane on there. On the Cayuga ducks, you can actually see it in black, but you can't necessarily see it in other ones. We buy eggs in stores that have gone through sanitization and all that stuff for human consumption. And what that does is it destroys that outer membrane. Now we have to refrigerate them, and there's an expiry date on those egg cartons. Well, guess what? You get them from the farm, you don't wash them. There might be a couple little spots on them, but generally they're pretty clean. Now you can actually leave those sitting out on your counter for a month without any worries at room temperature. You don't want to leave them out in the sun, of course, but you can leave them at room temperature for a month. And you see that in the old country, so to speak, where the basket of eggs and it's just sitting on the counter. So, you know, if you're not eating a dozen or two eggs in a month, then maybe you shouldn't be buying that many or even eating eggs. But you don't have to take up that room in your fridge. Now, one other thing, I'm sure I missed stuff like grit for chickens. So there's something I missed. You want to make sure that they have grit. Now those oyster shells do work as a grit, but you want some kind of gravelly material, small fine gravelly material, for them to have during the winter months. If they're inside, they can't access the outside, because what they do is they eat that grit, and it works in their crop where all their food is stored. And the rocks, the edges of the rocks, grind it down. So of course they don't have teeth, so they do it that way. So you want to make sure that you have some kind of grit, just small, fine rock material that they can peck at during the winter while they're locked up. Now, something we've used for years, this book has seen better days, and it's all bookmarked and everything. But this is essentially how we began. Barnyard in Your Backyard. It's an excellent book. It has, it's a one-time, here it says Canadian $40, US $25. You can actually get it on Amazon for, I think, 10 to 15 bucks. So, and it's still being sold. What I'll do is I'll put that link down in the description for this. I'll tag it under Amazon, and if you guys buy that book from Amazon, a portion of that money that you spent will be donated back to our farm. And again, anything you're buying on Amazon, use that link as well. So it covers covers many things, chickens, geese, rabbits, sheep, goats, and cows. So really everything you want to get started on it, and it walks you through in different sections and tells you a lot of information that I know that I didn't cover in this, going through and what size of pens outside to have and what kind of wire and just general care for them. So if you have any questions about this video, please let me know down below. Like always, like I said, I missed something. But pick up this book if you're interested in starting a hobby farm, or if you've started out already. Grab that book and have a read. Excellent material. That thing's 15 years old, I think, and we still use it. We still refer back to it. Of course, we've developed our own style, and you'll catch on to that once you move forward with the birds outside in their enclosed area. We know if there's a problem just by the way they're acting. A little bit of pecking. If you get pecking going on and there's an open wound on one of the birds, you want to make sure you get that bird out. You want to have a space to put that bird, because they are vultures, dinosaurs. You know, they're related to dinosaurs, and what they'll do is if they see an open wound, they'll peck at it, and they'll peck at it, and they'll peck at it until they eventually kill the bird. So watch your flock and keep an eye on them. Start out with a few if you're just starting out, and then add to it and slowly move forward. That's it. Again, I thank you for watching, and take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.